All right, what I've made today is something I used to eat a lot back in the 70s. It was really popular back in the 70s. Was chicken cacciatore, which basically is Italian hunter's stew. You can have a chicken, rabbit. Hey, any meat will be great in this stew. Now, I always loved it back then. I thought it was Cacciatore. And in Canada, we have the Party, which is the Conservatives. So the Conservative political party are the Tories. I always thought you had to go out and catch one of those, which, well, with most politicians, I guess that would be a good use for them in the stew pot. Anyways, we're not eating politicians here. We're eating chicken. And I say you could put anything else, rabbit or whatever in there. There's pasta in there. There's tomato, some red wine, which gives a fantastic smell. A little bit of basil, I'm using shiitake mushrooms. You could use regular champignon mushrooms, but the shiitake really are quite good. Leeks and things. And there's Parmesan in there, but I'm a Parmesan freak. I love Parmesan, so I'm going to put extra. I always have some on the side here. Put a little extra on there. Look at that. Little mountain, we used to call this, I remember when I was working in construction here, I used to go to a place called Jolly Pasta, which is a pasta restaurant, kind of popular back in the day here. Still a few of them kicking around. And we used to go and we'd order up pasta. And then we'd use the Parmesan on our table, and we ran out, so we'd swap with the next table over, and then swap with that table over there. And we'd all have like mountains of Parmesan cheese on top of our pasta. Ah, delicious. So let's have some of this. Let's get in there. I'm using penne this time. You'll see why when we'll get into the kitchen. Let's see. Looks like I got a big leak there. Oh yeah. It's smelling great here in the kitchen, and that is tasting great. Let's go to the kitchen and make some right now. Alright, so here are the ingredients for our hunter stew, our cacciatore. Tori, I'm never too sure how to say it. But anyways, across the front here, we've got 2 tablespoons of butter. We have 6 cloves of garlic, thinly sliced. We don't like garlic in there. A teaspoon of pepper, 2 teaspoons of dried basil, a half a teaspoon of salt. Here, 14 or 15 ounce can of tomatoes, like the chopped or crushed tomatoes. Here I've got 3 ounces or 85 grams of Parmesan cheese grated. I like a lot of Parmesan cheese. You want it less, that's okay. You can go a little less, but I want a lot of Parmesan cheese in there. Here's 1 onion chopped. These are 2 whole leeks, the white parts of the leeks, and I've cut them into, I like to cut them into long pieces like this. This is basically the way we cut our leeks for our nabe, our hot pots always. So, you could cut it into smaller pieces if you want, but I like a little bit of leek in there. So, what's that? Well, about 1.5 inches or about 40 millimeters. All right. Now over here, I've got shiitake mushrooms. Now you can use the other mushrooms too, the smaller, what I call the champignon mushrooms, if you can't get shiitake. In the case of shiitake, I use about 8 to 10 of them and cut them thick, just slice them across thick, so over 1/4 of an inch there, about 8 centimeters, or millimeters. What's with me in centimeters today? Millimeters, centimeters are big. Well, it'd be about that big, wouldn't it? Now, if you're going to use the champignon mushrooms, they're a bit smaller, so I'd say go about 15 to 20 of those. All right, it's not an exact number. Just want a bunch of mushrooms in there. The chicken, what I've got here is I've got 1 pound, I believe this is just a little over 1 pound of chicken thigh, and cut into small bite-sized pieces. So, not a huge bite size, but a smaller bite size. Here I've got 8 ounces or 230 grams of pasta. You might notice that I usually use the fusilli a lot, but in this stew I want a bit of a robust pasta, something that's going to hold up to the cooking in the stew. So I'm using penne, or you could use macaroni, it would be nice in there too, or even the little half shells. Then across the back, the liquids. Well, I've got here is 3 cups of chicken stock and 1 cup of red wine. And any red wine will do. I use a Chilean red wine called Carbonera. I really like the taste of it. It's really delicious. This is what I drink, so this is what I use for my cooking. All right, first thing we're going to do is you notice I'm using the big cast iron. I want a lot of depth. All right, just going to get all this stuff in there. I'm going to bring that up on medium heat. Then we're going to get that butter melting. All right, let's get that butter in there. And as soon as that butter melts, we'll get the onion in there. All right, that butter's about melted, so let's get the onion in there. Splatter myself with some butter. That was nice. The onion and the salt and pepper. Ooh, we're batting good here today. So, a bunch of extra pepper. We want that in here. In you go. All right. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cook this, stirring occasionally, for about 5 to 8 minutes. I just want to get that onion all softened up, and then we'll be adding more ingredients in. So see you back here in about 5 to 8 minutes. All right, so those onions have softened up a little bit. And what I'm going to do now is add in the chicken. And I want to cook the chicken for about 8 to 10 minutes. I want to stirring it around and browning it. Just get a little browning start happening on the chicken here. So we'll be back here 8 to 10 minutes, and then we'll be ready to start adding in more ingredients and some liquids. All right, see you then. All right, the chicken's starting to brown a little bit. That's looking really nice. What I want to do now is I'm going to throw in the shiitake mushrooms. Just stir those around for about 3 to 5 minutes. I just want to get them cooking a little bit before we add in the rest. And see if we can get just a little bit of browning on some of them. Probably not that much, but get them started anyways. All right, see you back here. 3, 4, 5 minutes. See you then. All right, that's been cooking for a few minutes. The mushrooms are looking great. So now, first thing I want to do before I add anything else in, I'm going to add in about half of this red wine and deglaze that bottom, because we're going to get things that are going to burn to the bottom a little bit. So now is the time to deglaze. So just go around and scrape that off. That wine's going to loosen it up. And let's add some more. Oh, and the smell. Love the smell of when wine hits something like this. That's smelling great. All right, in goes the rest of the wine. Okay, that's looking good. We've scraped all that goodness off the bottom and back into the stew. That's important for flavor. Now we can add in the chicken stock here. We can add in the leeks, the garlic. I forget everything except for the Parmesan cheese. So in goes the basil, in goes that tomato. And then the pasta. This is great. Just like you're just cooking everything in one pot. Pasta and all. Fantastic. Yeah, just stir that down into there a bit. All right, what I want to do now is I'm going to bring that up to a simmer. Yeah, a good simmer. Just about a boil, but can't boil too much or we're going to boil over. So a good strong simmer, and I'm going to simmer that about 10 to 12 minutes. That depends on your pasta. And so look at the package of the pasta. If it gives you a time for it, what you want is basically you want pasta to be cooked al dente stage, where it's not falling apart on you. It's just like it's got tooth to it. When you take a bite of a piece of pasta, it's cooked, but it's still firm, and that's what you want. So about 10 to 12 minutes for most pastas is going to be perfect, and I shall see you back here once that's happened. All right, see you then. All right, that's been bubbling away nicely, and I wish we had smell-o-vision so you could smell this, because it smells so good in here. Now, the pasta, what I like to do now is just grab a piece of pasta out of there, cool it down a bit, and yeah, that's still got a little bit of tooth to it, but it's cooked. That's absolutely perfect, and look at that. That's just a beautiful stew. So now, I'll turn off the heat and go stir in that Parmesan. Get that all in there. That's basically melt instantly because it's hot. Look at that. See, look at the color change now. Oops. Clean up on aisle 4. All right, there we go. That is looking absolutely fantastic. And yeah, you can eat it just like this. Myself, I like to have some more Parmesan on the side when I serve this up. I love my Parmesan. Anyway, let's put some into a bowl here. Look at those leeks. They're looking fantastic. Mushrooms, chicken, pasta, everything in there. Oh, that is going to be a fantastic dinner tonight. All right, if you like this recipe, stick around. There's a lot more here on Kuma's Kitchen. They are all original Kevin Riley Kuma's Kitchen recipes. This is a really old one from way back. I've made a couple changes since, but still, they're fantastic. You can smell this. Also, make sure you subscribe because there's a new one coming out every Monday. You don't want to miss those. And if you're not yet a patron of Kuma's Kitchen, well, consider becoming one of those. The patrons are getting all kinds of cool stuff in the Patreon, and for as little as $3 a month, you're helping to support the creation of all these recipes and all these recipe videos. Now, go make this delicious cacciatore and make cooking fun again at Kuma's Kitchen.